Hello, and welcome back to the Stories of Northern Life podcast, brought to you by the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. I'm your host, Nicole, and today I bring you a special episode that we have for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation and also Orange Shirt Day, which takes place every September 30th, which will be just after this episode airs. So just before we get started, I do want to put out a warning that some of the topics that we will be discussing can be difficult for some listeners. So today we are going to be looking at a small article of research that was compiled by Mary Aldridge from the Ontario Genealogical Society in February 2010. So here's the article. In documenting the First Nations people of Ontario over the past few years, I have discovered at least one individual who went away to school and never returned. This person was Charles Nenegishkung, who was born on the Rama Reserve near Orillia, Ontario in May 1904. On February 9th, 1919, 13 years old, he succumbed to pneumonia at the Shingwauk Home, Sault Ste. Marie, and was buried in the Shingwauk Cemetery. Following the War of 1812, some First Nations bands that had assisted the English resettled in Canada. The most famous of these bands were the descendants and followers of Joseph Brant, who settled the Six Nations Reserve in southern Ontario. However, there were other bands that settled in Canada. Chief Shingwauk's band settled in northern Ontario in the Algoma district. Around 1831, Chief Shingwauk turned his attention to the education of the members of his band and started talking about a teaching wigwam, which eventually transitioned into what would become Shingwauk Hall, a residential school named after this chief. The following history of Shingwauk is taken from the very interesting Shingwauk Project website. Quote, Shingwauk Hall was first established in 1873 as a residential school for Native children. Chief Shingwauk, the chief of the Ojibways at Garden River, believed that the future Ojibwe needed to learn the white man's academic method of education in order to survive in what was becoming a predominantly non-Native world with non-Native values. His dream was to have an educational center built for all future Ojibwe children. With the combined effort of Shingwauk's sons, Augustine and Bugawing Jining, and Reverend E.F. Wilson, this dream became a reality. A school was built at Garden River in 1873. 6 days after completion, the dream was turned to ashes. The school burned to the ground. Not giving in to misfortune, another school was erected at the present site overlooking the St. Mary's River. The cornerstone for the second Shingwauk Home was laid by the Earl of Dufferin, the Governor General of Canada, in the summer of 1874. In August 1875, the new building was officially opened to 50 pupils. 60 years later, this building was demolished and a third building was erected directly behind the old one. This was a home of students until 1970. It is now houses Algoma University College. The nearby Wawanosh Home for Girls was opened in 1877, but by 1900, the girls had been moved to the Shingwauk site. The Anglican Diocese of Algoma provided the staff and teachers at Shingwauk from 1873 to 1970, and religion was an integral part of everyday life for the students. After 1970, responsibility for Shingwauk was transferred to the Indian Affairs branch of the federal government. At the time of the 1881 and 1891 census, Reverend E.F. Wilson was the head of the school. In 1901, it was George K. King. So there is the first part of her article introducing the Shingwauk site. So as you heard, it had a few different iterations. One was in Garden River, and then it moved over to where it presently is, where Algoma University is now. And one thing that we can say is that finally Chief Shingwauk's vision has been realized. The SKG, or Shingwauk Kinamig is a realization of Chief Shingwauk's dream of a teaching wigwam. So if you go and check out that site, you will be able to see his vision being fulfilled. So here is the next part of the article. So these are a list of students in the various censuses of Canada. Shingwauk students listed in the 1891 Census of Canada. Original handwriting difficult to read. Transcription errors may have been made. So I'm sorry for any mispronunciations, as there are also a lot of spelling errors in here as well. Arthur McCokeman, 20. James Fox, 19. Joseph Sampson, 20, shoemaker. Elijah Reitman, 13. Yeba Peters, 14. Joseph Klaus, 17. James Obotanaway, 8. Thomas Williams, 14. Calvin Hill, 13. Freeman Hill, 15. Isaac Sands, 14. Lazarus Jones, 12. James Williams, 11. Peter Anthony, 7. Edward Reitman, 11. Joseph Johnson, 11. Birgette Brandt, 12. John Solomon, 20. Carpenter. Absalom Fox, 21. Wilson Fox, 15. Frank Jacobs, 12. Paris Hill, 13. Colbert Lott, 18. Albert Obtanaway, 12. Alex Obotanaway, 11. Job Sands, 16. Job Tramaracle, 6. Lenny Moracle, 6. Shingwauk students listed in the 1901 Census of Canada. Original handwriting difficult to read. Transcription errors may have been made. Anthony Morale, 17, Mohawk. Simon Jacobs, 15, Delaware. Peter Maness, 15, Ojibwe. Thomas Johnson, 20, Ojibwe. Henry Peter, 16, Delaware. Louis S.L. Logan, 19, Delaware. Sam John, 14, Delaware. Frank Day, 15, Ojibwe. Edward Day, 13, Ojibwe. Willie Day, 11, Ojibwe. John Manass, 14, Ojibwe. Barney S. Logan, 14, Delaware. Mitchell Adams, 18, Iroquois. Joseph Adams, 13, Iroquois. Charles Isaacs, 15, Potawatomi. Willie Nandy, 16, Ojibwe. Frederick Shabagigik, 16, Ojibwe. David Susanna, 17, Ojibwe. Samuel LaSalle, 22, Delaware. Michael LaSalle, 18, Delaware. William Bird, 18, Ojibwe. Frederick Abotasaway, 13, Ojibwe. John Stacy, 13, Iroquois. Charles White, 13, Iroquois. Louis Anisinabe, 19, Ojibwe. Paul Mitchell, 13, Iroquois. John Abosawe, 14, Ojibwe. Peter Stacy, 19, Iroquois. Paul John, 12, Delaware. Frank Blackbird, 18, Chippewa. Isaac Shabagigis, 9, Ojibwe. Wellington Boyle, 15, Chippewa. Waldron White, 16, Potawatomi. Peter Nandy, 11, Chippewa. Isaac Thomas, 8, Potawatomi. Isaac Kigekakambinis, 8, Ojibwe. Thomas White, 10, Iroquois. Henry Shabaginnis, 10, Ojibwe. Angus Morali, 10, Ojibwe. Leighton Mekashon 10, Ojibwe. Patrick Murinshwach, 8, Ojibwe. John Palahusa, 14, Cree. Thomas Nebuchadnezzar, 12, Cree. William Bearfast, 15, Chippewa, Wortland French, 11, Ojibwe, Thomas K. Skittler, 8, Ojibwe, Josiah Dick, 7, Chippewa, Lila Day, 10, Chippewa, Ruby Day, 8, Ojibwe, Jeannie Sims, 14, Ojibwe, Rose Giskemeg, 11, Ojibwe, Catherine Giskemeg, 10, Ojibwe, Louisa McShoden, 11, Ojibwe, Susie McShoden, 11, Ojibwe, Alex Equismo, 8, Ojibwe, Mary Kiskabi Gobins, 14, Ojibwe, Ernest Jacobs, 11, Delaware, Harry Ketchko, 15, Chippewa, Thomas Ketchko, 12, Chippewa, Simon Esquismo, 11, Ojibwe, Nicholas, 13, Oneida, William Sisena, 11, Ojibwe, John Johnson, 14, Ojibwe, Sam Johnson, 14, Ojibwe, Andrew Johnson, 12, Ojibwe, Martha Mitchell, 13, Ojibwe, Mary McQuat, 13, Cree, Martha McQuat, 10, Cree, C. Beatrice French, 5, Chippewa, Lydia Plain, 14, Chippewa, Annie Simo, 7, Iroquois, and Mary Simo, 14, Iroquois. Shingwauk students listed in the 1911 Census of Canada. Original handwriting difficult to read. Transcription errors may have been made. Thomas Scaletter, 16, born May 1895. Elias Martin, 15, born March 1896. Solomon Jacobs, 14, born April 1897. William Jacobs, 13, born January 1898. Johnny Ricard, 12, born November 1898. Eliza Augustin, 14, born May 1897. Paul Squatus, 12, born February 1899. Eliza Mitchell, 16, born March 1895. Ford Jackson, 15, born January 1896. Joseph Thomas, 11, born November 1899. Joseph Richard, 11, born June 1899. Christopher Corsten, 8, born July 1902. St. Clair Spaniel, 14, born April 1897. Frank Spaniel, 16, born July 1894. Daniel Kiskobanies, 11, born August 1900. Benjamin Kiskobanies, 13, born May 1898. Thomas LaForce, 14, born April 1897. Stuart Mitchell, 13, born January 1898. Ford Mabel, 6, born November 1904. George Augustin, 9, born March 1902. Benjamin Augustin, 7, born January 1904. Riley Nuddy, 10, born May 1901. Louise White, 13, born July 1897. Oscar Nadush Kunandasa, 14, born February 1897. May Clark, 13, born November 1897. Gladys Jacobs, 12, born October 1898. Mary Jacobs, 14, born January 1897. Margaret Corsten, 14, born March 1897. Mary Spaniel, 13, born April 1898. Lucy Kiskobanies, 9, born August 1901. Susan Kiskobanies, 11, born February 1900. Kathleen Minatoshanu, 7, born May 1904. Frida Augustin, 5, born December 1906. Cecilia Deer, 8, born September 1902. Rena Howell, 12, born December 1906. Jessie Howell, 12, born March 1899. Edith Thompson, 10, born August 1899. Florence Pringle, 12, born July 1898. And so, as I was saying, this was all compiled by Mary Aldridge for the Ontario Genealogical Society in February 2012. So I hope this has given you a little bit better of a picture of the Shingwauk Residential School and the children who attended the school. And as I was saying, this is for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, and also Orange Shirt Day, which takes place every September 30th, which is just after this episode airs. So if you would like to take the time to learn more about the Canadian residential school system, to learn more about Orange Shirt Day or the Shingwauk Residential School Center, please take the time to do so. Also, you can go to the Shingwauk Kinimig and also the Shingwauk Residential School Center site and explore and learn more about each site. And also they will both likely be doing events on September 30th, so stay tuned for the events that they will be hosting and consider taking part in those. The Shingwauk Residential School Center is being rebuilt right now, so the office itself is closed, though they are still working there. And also there is a museum inside Algoma University. If you walk up the front steps of Shingwauk Hall and walk through those doors, you will be entering the Shingwauk School Museum, and there you can learn more about the school and the children that attended the school as well. So I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and please take the time to learn more and reflect upon September 30th. And as always, thanks for listening. Bye.
Did you know you can get unlimited admission to the Sault Ste. Marie Museum for a whole year for just $15? Yep, that's right, and there's more perks to that too. Go to Sault Museum, that's SAULT museum.ca, under Visit and learn more about our membership options. And if you're a business, corporate or nonprofit, we have plans for you too. Reach out to us by emailing info@saultmuseum.ca with any inquiries.